What's good with all the real ones, man? And for all the chosen ones, man, I hope all is well with you, man. Taking care of yourself externally, but internally first. You know, I want to talk about the society you were forced to live in, yo. You know, I'm pretty sure all the real ones that are watching this video, or the ones that are real in this world, y'all, they don't want to be alive, y'all. Not that they're suicidal, but they're the only ones real in a world full of fakeness, y'all. So as I give y'all this video, yo, I want y'all to feel this. I want y'all to dissect and reflect on what the fuck you are hearing, because this might be a part of your reality or how you are living. So, this society that we are brought upon, y'all, where you work, where you have to do things that you don't want to do, but you have to do, right? Well, you don't have to do shit, yo, because you have free will. But this is the shit that was told upon all of us, y'all, growing up. So, this world, y'all, that they call Earth, this is a prison planet, y'all. So it doesn't matter where you are or what you are doing, you will always feel like you are stuck or behind. Not because of you elevating, but because you're limited, yo. There's always somebody in a higher position than you, That's why it is important to have so much energy, yo, because you stop giving a fuck about everybody and everything, yo, because then again, y'all, you are the only one that is real, So many people, yo, want to be real or claim that they are real, but if they don't have that authenticness about them, they're nowhere near that, yo. They want to be real because they want to be somebody that's recognized. I don't make these videos, y'all, for people to watch me and to praise me or to come back. No, I make these videos, y'all, because I wasn't always who I am now, y'all. With the power of transformation, y'all, I was able to transform myself and become somebody that's undeniable, because I realized that God put me down here to suffer, then to rejoice with everything that I once, felt like I deserved, y'all. So in a way, you can say that I was asleep then, but now that I'm awake, y'all, I'm gonna use this power, y'all, and change the fucking world, because this world is hell. People want to say that, well, if you don't worship God, you're gonna go to hell. You are in hell now, y'all. You don't even know that, but yet you feel that way because you're never happy. You might not ever be satisfied truly, because you live in that ego, yo. The ego's a doorway to hell. And this is not going to resonate with a lot of people, but for the ones who've been through this and know pain and know what life really is, yo, you will realize how lonely, this world makes you become, because while you have broken free from every illusion that was placed upon you, everybody ain't that way. Everybody's stuck facing these obstacles, yo, that serve no fucking, no meaning to life, yo. For example, family, we are the only beings in this plane or existence that are forced to take on things that we don't want to do, right? But when you look at animals or trees or anything else besides us that's living in this world, they don't have to do none of that, yo. Because when you really look at it with a logic mind, or with just a third eye, should I say, you realize, yo, that we weren't supposed to be doing nothing, yo, but evolving. It's hard to find people on your frequency, yo, when you are risen at this frequency, yo. So if you are somebody that chose yourself and chose to live in high frequencies, yo, don't get mad or don't feel down because you're the only one that seems authentic or pure in this society, yo. It's gonna be that way for you, yo, because you're a living reflection of what God was and wants you to become. That's exactly why people can't stand being around you, or people don't like the light that you bring, because you need to stop looking at these motherfuckers like they're humanoid like yourself, yo. Those are demons and jinns and gnomes, not irritating the fuck out of you, all because they envy you from within. You know, it's not about you externally, y'all. We all have flesh that we are incapacitated in, y'all, or forced to partake in a fleshly body, which is a vehicle. You need to pay attention to people's actions and how they treat others, y'all. But this world, y'all, you know, this society, should I call it, you know, this is hell, y'all. You know, there's no such thing as lava and you're burning for eternity. You know, your soul's burning now because you're forced to live in that ego, y'all, that's hiding who you really are behind that shell. So why you think you are in hell, y'all, you really are in hell, y'all, because your soul's in hell. You know, your soul's not fully awakened. You know, I will always say this as I say this again, y'all. People love dreaming more than they love living here consciously. The video had cut, y'all, but I'm back at it. Like I said, y'all, people love dreaming more than they love living here because you're not bound by these worldly expectations or by these fucked up rules that they want to call laws, you know. Laws were never here to govern you physically, y'all. It was to control your mind and to keep you stuck being limited, y'all. You know, they don't want you facing your limitations, y'all, because they know that there's nothing that you really can't do if you put your mind to it in a way, you know. You can do anything you want to do, y'all, if you put your mind to it, if you work hard enough, if you believe in yourself and have willpower. They dim your chakras, but not only that, they dim you physically, y'all, with shit that's to kill you. So this is why I always tell your family, you need to know who the enemy is before you can rise above, you know. And when you do speak truth, y'all, the enemy can't do nothing but run like a little bitch he is, because he can't control you. He can only control the things that was meant for you. And that's for you, whether or not you want to feed into it or stay away from it, y'all. You choose, y'all, because you are the magician, y'all. You choose whether you want to better or fall down, you know. But yes, y'all, you know, in your dreams, y'all, you can do things that you want to do. You can fly, you can go to the past, you can live in the future, or you can just stay here. But people love their dreams more, y'all, because they're not limited by expectations or boundaries, y'all, or just things that you just don't like doing here, y'all. You can go see anybody who's passed away in your dreams, y'all. That's how powerful you are. Not because, you know, you did anything wrong, but because the key was always within you, y'all. You know? Think about that. That's powerful, man. But now that I tell y'all this, realize how much power you have in the physical, y'all. You may have power in your dreams, but you have tremendous power in the physical, y'all. Because now you realize, okay, the enemy wants me to react to things outside of myself. He wants me to argue for me. He wants me to put up with things that I shouldn't really care about, y'all. So now, you just gotta walk away, ignore these things, y'all. You know, you gotta be the bigger person, because you're the creator of your reality, y'all. So the devil wants to test you and see whether or not you're gonna rise or you're gonna fall. And there we go, y'all. You know, everybody lives with a fucking mask on, y'all, because they're not afraid to be who they want. You know, they're afraid of who they are when they're alone, y'all. You know, I don't need friends, y'all. And I don't need to be around nobody. Not because I'm better, but because I love myself. And I know that I have a mission to fulfill, y'all. You know, everybody has the same mission, but everybody don't got bigger balls. You know, everybody's scared of the world, y'all. They feel like if they do this, y'all, they gonna be hunted. You've been hunted your whole life, y'all, by people you don't even know. You've been watched by people, things, or obstacles, or just different scenarios that are waiting to see what you're gonna do about it, you know? So you can never really take on your purpose if you haven't conquered or dissolved fear. You know, fear is something that lives in you, that's for you to act on, y'all. You know? So, you know, if you might feel intrigued by watching this video, y'all, well, just know that you have a calling, and God is calling you, and He's just trying to remind you that you are the creator of your reality. So why not create something for yourself, yo? Stop chasing people. Stop worrying about what the fuck they are doing. They gonna do what they wanna do regardless, yo. You know, start looking at them like spirits, yo. And are they good spirits or are they bad spirits, yo? Can't be both though. You know? You know, when you were asleep, yo, you know, you learned a lot about this world, yo. You learned a lot about how people move. You learned a lot about how this world wants you to be somebody. But for what? Why? Why do you feel like you gotta be the best at entertainment or all these different kind of illusions? Because it was never about you being good at anything, yo. That's why this world is not based upon talent, yo. It's based upon control and energy, yo. You know, once you know that this world wants to control you in any type of way, you realize that I gotta control myself, yo, and how much energy I allow within me, yo, because the enemy has taken everything from you. They want you fucking acting like a zombie, because once you have energy, yo, you have power, and once you have power, people look up to that, yo, because they want a piece of it, yo. But once you force them to reflect on themselves, yo, and you don't let them get shit, then they learn to build up their own power, because it's something that you can't obtain physically, yo. It's something that you would have to work on to build internally. But, you know, this is hell, as I said again, yo. We are living in hell right now. So while you may not be burning physically, yo, your soul is aching and burning spiritually, yo, because it's limited to the shit that we are forced to take on in this world, yo. Nobody should feel like that, yo, because that means you're truly never happy, right? That's what meditation is. Literally, it's the most biggest necessity this world has ever, you know, brought upon us, because you're not finding peace outside of yourself, yo. You know, no matter how fat their ass is, no matter how good they look, no matter how much somebody wants to offer you, fuck their money and fuck their body, you know. Worry about yourself, yo, because how's someone gonna feel something about you when you don't feel that way about yourself, you know? That's when you realize that everything starts internally first, yo. I gotta make sure that my heart is whole, and pure, because if I don't protect this right here, this organ, yo, you'll realize how much people take advantage of that, because you don't know the power you truly hold. So they gonna only abuse and use you, you know? Not because they want to, but because they were taught that way on how to survive, you know? You know, yo, this was a good ass download, yo. But if you want to take anything from this video, I want to remind you that you gotta be the one that stands out in this world, yo. Nobody wants to stand out, because everybody wants to, you know, follow the crowd. Everybody wants to hang around each other, because they crave what this world has given us. Illusions, entertainment, facades, you know, just a hoax. But once you stand out, you become a target, and you become somebody that is not liked, because you're living proof of somebody that ain't with nobody, yo. Not that you're better, but because you protect your energy. You look at it like it's the only thing that matters, which it does, because if you don't have energy, yo, you can't live the way you want to live, yo, you know? So just think about that, yo. You know, yo, the biggest thing you need to do, yo, is meditate, yo. You need to fucking meditate for a long time and focus on your breath and on clearing your mind, yo, because the enemy is gonna force you to think about people, places, or things, yo. But are you even questioning why you are feeling that way? Why do you feel so needy? Why do you feel like you're antsy? Because you haven't found peace within yourself, yo. You're looking for things outside of you that might bring you peace, yo. But you're stuck on the flesh, yo. You know, the flesh ain't gonna lead you right. It's always gonna lead you down, you know? Because the flesh is the lowest vibration. You know, it holds your spirit and soul back, yo. And once you get what I'm talking about, yo, and you lift your spirit like myself, you'll realize how you are the only one, or you may feel that way. around others because you elevated your consciousness, yo. You live with peace, yo. No matter how much someone might try to target or try to get energy out of you, yo, in a negative way, you're just gonna laugh at them, or you're gonna look at them like they're below you because they still crave negativity, yo. They're like ants, yo, trying to create an ant pile, but they can't do that because you're not giving them the resources too, you know. This world, yo, was made for it to be unfair, yo, because they didn't want no one to ever reach happiness, yo. You know, think about it, yo. All these fucking corporations or all these things that were made for us, right? You know, they were never giving you something that was truly gonna satisfy you because they can't have you living happy. You know, just you living happily kills them because they can't live without your negativity, yo. These beings, they thrive and they run off of your negative energy, yo. So why the fuck would they give you something that's gonna make you smile? It's just not gonna happen. People don't know this, but once they do, you realize what you gonna do. You gonna keep worshiping those falsely idols, or you gonna take your power back and you gonna stand on their fucking necks until they decay. You know, that's what I've been doing, and that's why I never stop, yo. People ask me, why do you make these videos, yo? Because it's all about helping your soul. You know, your soul don't want to be here, but yet once it's forced to live in this physical world, yo, it changes everything and everyone because the ego's not holding you back anymore, yo. The ego glitches. Why do you think when you live through spirit, yo, and you step out in a world full of people who are living in that ego, they start glitching like a motherfucker? Because, yo, that ego was never real in the first place. It was a mask for them to live in this world, to get through it. But when someone like you comes around, yo, you terrify them. You don't scare their soul away, but you scare that ego away, you know? And that's why it can't take that light that you have, yo, because you're showing them what true light is. And without you saying anything, yo, it's a reflection because you become a mirror, yo. I tell y'all, yo, you don't have to say nothing. All you gotta do is be or become and watch how everything starts to fall or crumble. You know, systems crumble, people crumble, you know. Man, this shit get real, you know. But before I end this video, I want to remind you that if you're watching this video right now, no matter who you are led to this video for a reason, yo. And now, may that reason be, I don't know, but it's because, yo, your soul is craving something deeper than what the fuck you're living in, yo. You know, everybody gets tired of living the same day every day. That's why they question themselves, right? But it's not you that's questioning yourself, y'all. It's your soul trying to awaken, but yet you don't have the knowledge on that. So how can it ever reach its potential, y'all, if you are stuck dimming it, you know? I'm not telling you to crush your ego fully. I'm telling you to be aware of the ego, y'all. So when you come around people who are trying to control you or get you to react in a way, you look at them like they are small, or you just, you know, you walk away and you laugh about it because they still are stuck on illusions that they haven't broke yet, yo. That's how you get an enemy to reveal who they really are, not by speaking, but by being and by staying silent, yo, because you can't help this world with words or actions, yo. The only way you can is by becoming somebody that is indestructible, you know. But yeah, family, this was the video, and this video was called Know Your Soul, man. Everybody has an ego, yes, but do you know who your soul is? And do you know how powerful it really is, yo? You're not the body, and the body is what the ego is, yo. You know, if we didn't have these bodies, yo, no matter what the enemy did, yo, he couldn't force you to develop an ego because you will be living through light. You will be full of light, yo. You will be glowing and feeling much lighter. You know, these bodies hold our soul down. That's why we can't punch like lightning right now. Because, yo, you gotta wait for this physical dimension to catch up to your spiritual consciousness, yo. And the only way you'll be able to get this is if you have so much energy within you, because you can't feel shit, yo, physically, yo. The physical dimension holds you back in so many ways, you know. But I think this was personally a good ass video, yo. And you know, It all starts with energy, y'all. Only energy. Because with energy, y'all, you feel others, you feel yourself, and you know how this world has truly, you know, in a way, made to destroy us internally, yo. Because they didn't give a fuck about your externally, yo. They don't care about your body. They cared about the power you had within. That's why they didn't want you going within yourself, yo. But now that you have this power or this information, I hope you do something about it, yo. Or if you don't, you're gonna let the enemy keep stepping over that fucking neck you have until it shackles or until it crumbles, you know. But you know, I came in peace, yo, and I will leave that way. But I hope all is well with the chosen ones. And remember, keep spitting that truth, yo. Keep stepping over these fuckers' necks, yo. Don't stop speaking, yo, because they can't do nothing about that, yo. Your throat chakra, yo. You know, just you speaking, you know, you're creating everything that it's gonna become. You know, what you are saying will happen because you are vibrating much higher and you are living truth that someone can change and become something like this if you live through it. But I'll see y'all in the next video, chosen one. Ashe.